Whether it's clowns like Seth Rogen pretending to be articulate, well-informed political activists and losing his mind anytime someone points out how ludicrous and out of touch he is, or Will Smith losing his mind because he can't take a fucking joke.
It's Blue. Make sure you like and subscribe and go follow me on my Twitch and my Kick. Those links are down below. Also my Patreon, where I react to more stuff on there that I don't post here.
Yo, Dom! Why'd you bring the Buster here?
Cause the Buster kept me out of handcuffs. He didn't just run back to the fort. The Buster brought me back.
Today I'm going to be reacting to a more critical drinker on why modern movies suck.
It might be hard to believe now, but there was a time when movie stars were practically venerated as gods amongst men, when people genuinely looked up to and respected them as the living embodiments of the American dream. Glamorous, refined and larger than life, but kind of remote and untouchable, like they existed in some other world that was separate from our own. Something inspirational for the common man to aspire to, but never quite to reach. Now they've become kind of a sad, dated, unfunny joke without a punchline, fuel for 1,000 memes on the internet, mocked and belittled for their clumsy attempts to preach and pander and curry favour with the very people they look down on with such contempt, their flaws and shortcomings and insecurities increasingly exposed for the world to see. Whether it's clowns like Seth Rogen pretending to be articulate, well-informed political activists and losing his mind anytime someone points out how ludicrous and out of touch he is, or Madonna sitting in her bath of milk and rose petals trying to explain how she's no different from a minimum wage factory worker who has to make the daily choice between heating their home or having food to eat, or Ron Perlman ranting and raving into his phone about some political bill that he clearly has no knowledge or understanding of, or Gal Gadot leading a bunch of idiots in an off-key rendition of Imagine at a time when most people were questioning whether they'd even have a home to live in next month, or J.K. Rowling somehow managing to alienate basically everyone by going to war with the very people she spent years pandering to, or Will Smith losing his mind because he can't take a fucking joke. I could probably go on for days about this, reeling off examples of celebrities embarrassing themselves in front of millions of people, and that's not even counting the really dark and sinister stuff lurking out there. But the point is, the whole cult of celebrity that used to be such a big, powerful part of our culture really feels like it's dying on its arse these days. And to be honest, it was kind of inevitable that this was going to happen sooner or later. The world we live in is changing, and so is the way we see the rich and famous. But if I had to describe the instrument of their downfall in 2 words, they would have to be social media. See, back in the 90s and even the 2000s, celebrities were a lot less accessible than they are today, and generally the only time you heard from them was in carefully scripted interviews with magazines.
I actually want to pause because this was the only part of the video that I already felt like I was thinking at the beginning, and I didn't really see the beginning coming, and I don't really feel like I've ever really given it that much thought. So I found it really interesting because I've never really thought about it. But as he was starting to explain it, I did think, oh, probably social media would be the divide of that, because if somebody's romanticized and kind of comes off as if they're in a world where they're untouchable or they're almost like not real, you probably only really see them when they're acting. And so it is weird because you know that they're actors, but you don't know anything else about them other than their character or their role. Nowadays, you can know everything and anything you want to look up about anybody who's a celebrity. I mean, sometimes they'll just post it willingly themselves about like, I'm making breakfast today, I'm vegan, and this is my routine, and you just know everything about them, so it makes it really personal and not as romanticized or a mystery. And then, like he said, and all of those examples, sometimes they do it to themselves, whereas maybe back in the day, you didn't exactly have like a place to go to where you could embarrass yourself so publicly. Maybe if an actor or an actress did embarrass themselves ever back in the day, there wasn't hundreds of paparazzis there to capture it.
Carefully scripted interviews with magazines, friendly journalists, and talk show appearances where they were contractually protected from difficult or uncomfortable questions. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was still plenty of potential for ups, like Sean Connery giving his decidedly old school opinions on violence against women.
I remember you said you don't do it with a clenched fist, it's better to do it with an open hand. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You haven't?
No.
Or Marlon Brando refusing his Oscar to make a statement about how Native Americans are treated in the industry. Just as a little side note, Roger Moore walked home with a Oscar that night because no one else would take it. Or Oliver Reed showing up to talk shows pissed out of his mind.
Why do you drink?
Because the finest people that I've ever met in my life are in pubs.
Never change, Ollie, never change. But these things were generally outliers, rather than part of the broader culture in Hollywood, and for the most part they were usually criticised as crass or inappropriate. Generally speaking, most celebrities sober enough to know what year it was were able to stick to the script, answering puffball questions about their careers, promoting whatever films they were in, and mostly steering clear of anything particularly political or controversial. And on the rare occasions when they did get involved in like that, you knew they meant business because it could have serious repercussions for their careers. Nowadays it's practically the opposite. You're more likely to get criticised for not being political. Anyway, the point is, there was a kind of protective wall between them and the public, so that you never really knew the inner workings of their minds. Thank f***. You had no clue what they got up to on a daily basis, or the mundane stuff that went on behind closed doors. You didn't know what their opinions were on current political and social events, and you generally didn't see them go off scripts. But then an innocuous little app like Twitter came along, and suddenly they had the ability to interact directly with their fans from the comfort of their own homes. They could put out unscripted, unrehearsed, unfiltered opinions, and enjoy that sweet dopamine hit as thousands of likes and retweets came pouring in. Holy sh**, they thought to themselves as they sipped their soy lattes. I can just sit here on my phone and bask in the glow of my own fame, while my legions of fans shower my every word with praise and adoration. No more boring press junkets, scripted interviews, and tedious questions for me. Now I can talk about whatever the f*** I want. And like a moth to a flame, the allure of instant gratification, constant attention, and on-demand ego-stroking was just too strong for most of them to resist. And before you knew it, these people were given their opinions on fucking everything from social issues to foreign policy to the economy, in a never-ending quest to hog the public's attention and bag themselves more hollow praise. They were sharing pictures of their homes, their meals, their fucking dogs. They were posing without stylists and makeup in an effort to look relatable. Lovely stuff indeed. The only problem is that, well, most of these people are complete idiots. They're hollow, narcissistic, poorly educated, privileged, disconnected, impulsive, weak-minded, ignorant, and completely unqualified to give their opinions on most of the things they speak so loudly about.
I just wanted to say how long the list went on. Oh, ouch. I'm happy that he doesn't just reuse like narcissistic over and over again. It's really a lot of thought has been put into it, and it feels very accurate, not just synonyms of all the same word. Nowadays, you don't have to be good at something to be famous. You don't have to have made a discovery or been super intelligent or have an incredible talent. You can just be famous. And it almost seems like maybe there's a conversation for how our evolution hasn't exactly caught up to that. Fame doesn't equal intelligence. Unfortunately, it does seem like people, even if you admire someone or you're a fan of them, it is a little hard sometimes to maybe disconnect that and not admire everything about them. Everything that comes out of everyone's mouth just because you admire them, or they're famous, I should say. You can admire people who aren't famous or who are famous for certain reasons that are admirable, but just because you are famous does not mean that everything that you say is going to be intelligent.
They've made their careers out of saying words written by other people. They've spent years surrounded by well-paid yes men that never challenge their opinions or call them out on their bullshit. So because of that, most of them have never had to be particularly smart or well informed. People just kind of go along with what they say, and it's created the false impression that what they say must in fact be correct. They've been safely protected within the Hollywood echo chamber, so that when they decide to share their opinions with the rest of the world, it never really crosses their minds that they might be completely fucking stupid. I mean, don't get me wrong, people say stupid shit on the internet every minute of every day. The difference though is that the average person doesn't have a public persona to protect. The average person doesn't have millions of people who pay attention to what they say, and a news media hungry for scandal keeping tabs on their every move. Truly, familiarity breeds contempt, and the more we see of these people, the less we fucking like them. The more we've pulled back the curtain on the world of celebrity, the more we've come to realise that there isn't anything particularly smart, interesting, or special behind it. The mystique has vanished, and with it, the misplaced belief in the power of fame. The age of the internet has also given birth to a new breed of celebrities who don't need to be part of the Hollywood machine, or have an army of publicists, stylists, and advisors to reach their audience. All they really need is a webcam and an internet connection because, funnily enough, people respond better to unpolished passion than slick, soulless corporate pandering. Just ask G4 TV. I mean, shit, man, if some drunken ass from Scotland can find a bit of success online, then basically anyone can do it. And I guess that's kind of my point here. The fact that almost anyone can find a degree of fame and success now has kind of diluted the talent pool and made traditional celebrities a bit less special. And I guess the natural result of that is that they start to feel threatened, and their clumsy attempts to appeal to that same desire for authenticity only exposes how fake and shallow they really are. Now, it would be unfair of me to say that every celebrity's like this, because clearly there's still good people out there that have managed to stay humble, grounded, and grateful for what they have, and resist the darker impulses of ego and attention seeking. There are artists who do what they do because they genuinely care about their craft and have no real interest in the public attention that comes with it. Some of them have even been able to use their fame and wealth to support good causes or raise awareness about important issues, in which case good on them. But I think most of the time it's pretty easy to tell the difference between an actor who quietly donates his salary to a charitable cause without expecting anything in return, and a fame-hungry loudmouth spouting hollow political talking points on social media because they think that's what people want to hear. People have got an eye for fakery now, and they don't like it. The end result of all these different factors is that we're kind of transitioning into a post-celebrity world where being famous just isn't that special or unique anymore, where normal everyday people can have their ideas go viral overnight with a single well-written tweet, and where being a big deal in Hollywood doesn't make you a big deal to the average person anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, there's always going to be a place for actors, entertainers, and performers of all kinds, and there's nothing wrong with being fans of their work, but I guess my point here is that their work is what should matter, not all the stupid shit that's been tacked onto it. Fundamentally, they're entertainers, not pundits, philosophers, leaders, or thinkers. Their job is to amuse and distract us, not to lecture, berate, and guilt us into thinking like they do. In fact, what I've got to say, Kurt Russell expressed it better than I ever could, so I'll leave you with his wise words instead. There's no reason entertainers can't learn just as much as anybody else about a subject, whatever it is. But I think what's sad about it is that they lose their status as a court jester. And I'm a court jester. That's what I was born to do. And you know what, Kurt? You're really good at it. It's a shame more people weren't like you. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
I really liked that video. Lots of irony in there, but yes, I do think that there's a lot to also gather from it. Definitely doesn't mean that there's some celebrities out there who have done great things with their platform outside of reading something that someone else wrote for them, but genuinely using it to do better and to, what did that say? Silently gifting to cancer. Nice. He also dug at Seth Rogen in detail twice in this video, so I can kind of tell who he doesn't really like. I personally don't really know that much about celebrities and like scandals or bad things that they've done, so I just can't speak much on it, but I appreciate hearing someone else's opinion and them backing it with data if I'm there in the conversation. So I did think that it was a really good video. I liked a lot of the things that he pointed out. Very fair, very true. Doesn't mean that you can't find someone and look up to them just because they're famous, but maybe it doesn't mean that they know everything about every subject. Maybe it doesn't mean go to them for advice or like take their political opinion into heavy consideration. I mean, they may have formed a political opinion just as well as you could have formed your own. They're real people, and their job and their lifestyle doesn't suit them for politics any more than your job or your lifestyle suits you. Make sure you also go and check out Critical Drinker, of course, because that is where I'm getting the videos from on his YouTube channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.